Well, welcome, and welcome again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Real Men Being Men. Welcome to another episode of Real Men Being Men. Got a great broadcast lineup for you this evening, as I hope and I pray that we always do. We got what we call four square conversations. It's called four square conversation. We have four different topics. We talk about each one of for at least 30 minutes. We talk about each one of for 30 minutes. Sometimes we go over just a little bit. It depends on what the topic is and how the topic goes. So want to make sure that you all are strapped in and share the broadcast. And if you don't mind doing so, please share the broadcast. You're listening to DK Media Group and Associates. I'm your host. I'm Raheem Ajmi. I'm just the question asker. I'm just the one they call the question asker. But the fellows that is important that's with us right now is one of the gentlemen that's with us is Mr. Rodney. You got Mr. Rodney up there. Rodney, tell everybody who you are, brother, where you're hailing from and where you originate from.
Oh, Rodney Smith, Acula, Georgia, hailing from Stamford, Connecticut.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we have done that. Now, I want y'all to listen to the alphabet. And if y'all don't know your alphabet, y'all about to learn your alphabet right now because I'm going to go to this brother. This is Tucson. Tucson. Tell everybody where you're hailing from, your name, where you're hailing from, and where you originate from. Alphabet.
Uh, I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana, and I live in Pascagoula, Mississippi.
Yeah.
You talk about every letter in the alphabet. I'm gonna tell you something. That brother there got every letter in the alphabet in his. In, I tell you, A to Z, A to Z. But listen, we're gonna kick this thing off, man. Like I said, we got what we call four square conversation. We have four different topics. We talk about each one of them at least 30 minutes, 30 minutes apiece. So sometimes they go over. So if we extend to a little further, please don't hesitate. Continue to share the broadcast. And one more time, if I did not tell you to, please share the broadcast. Rodney, I'm gonna start off with you, brother. Start off with you this evening. I'm gonna ask you something. What are our what are our roots? What are our roots, Rodney?
That's a difficult question because our roots go all the way back to antiquity, but we're unaware of that path. So it's hard to define as an individual our roots because actually we're ill-informed of our roots, mainly because of the transport from the motherland over here. The connection had been broken. So we just have to rediscover our roots at this point.
Wow. Wow. Toussaint, same question to you, brother. What are our roots?
um, I was going to be sarcastic for a minute and say I'm Kuta Kinte, but I ain't going to. I ain't going to do
Lord
that.
Jesus.
Um, I think that everybody knows that where everything originated, it's obvious. If we go from the beginning, everything seems to be in the heart of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody can tell me something different, then I'm willing to listen to it. But when we go even from as far back as we possibly can, you wind up at the same place. Even for those that discredit, they start from where they try to discredit, and it's amazing how they use that information to bring their to rise their point.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that that's just original. Everything comes from the motherland. It just seems like even if we would go even back from the what we know as the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
we are the originators.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Pastor, good evening, sir. How you doing this evening? Pastor, you there?
Doing well, Raheem. How you doing today?
Hey, doing good, doing good. Good to have you, sir. Asking first, tell everybody your name and where you're hailing from and where you originate from.
Okay, I'm Pastor Brown of Tabernacle of Worship. I'm hailing out of Morrow, Georgia.
Good deal. Good deal. Pastor, we're asking a question. What are our roots? What are our roots?
What are our roots?
Yes.
Um,
As a people, What are our roots? What if with every plant, in order to find out, they say you could tell you go to the root of the plant and you could tell everything about that particular plant. If you go to our root as a people, what are our roots?
Of course, as African Americans, as we've been dubbed in this country, we hail from the continent of Africa, which is where most of us, if you do a genealogy study, most of us, no, but most of us will find that, our roots are from somewhere on that continent. And that's where a culture where most of our roots, as you're putting it, would come from.
Okay. Go ahead, Rodney.
Yeah, I might add, the issue is not the genealogy on paper. We understand where we come from. We're just not connected to it. As the pastor said, culture. We did not maintain the culture, any semblance of the culture from the motherland or from our ancestors. So therefore, yes, it's almost like looking at your family tree. You can see it on paper, but there's no real connection because there's no passing down of generational information, generational wealth, generational knowledge of self. Yes, we can definitely connect ourselves all the way back to antiquities. I mean, that's not the issue. The issue is the reason why many people are acting out the way they're doing because there's no connection to their lineage or to their ancestry. I had the privilege a while back of knowing quite a few Jewish folks up north. And every Friday, they would sit down and talk about their family roots, their family history, all the stuff they've gone to. And they would make sure the younger people got that bit of culture. So for us, yes, we can say we're from Africa, but it's a big disconnect in terms of our lifestyle, in terms of what we do.
Toussaint, what do you think? Why do you think there is that disconnect?
We left it at the dinner table. Remember? And you guys excuse me, I'm trying to.
Speaking of the dinner table, huh? Speaking of the dinner table.
Yeah. But that's where we left it. Remember, I think every one of us can remember when family used to have dinner at a certain time, 5, 6 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Breakfast. We would wake up in the morning and, we'd break out. Somebody, I know my parents did, they broke out into prayer. You gather around the bed. And then after that, we gather around the table. And that was the time for reflection on not only how to act now, but how we got where we are. Excuse me. The family was close knitted, and there was directions and instructions from family. And I think that we left our teach the children, remind them, raise them up, train them up in the way that they should go. All that happened in our house, at least.
Yeah.
All that happened at the dinner table. And I think that's where we left it.
Wow.
When we start allowing our children to just check it out, go look under their bed. That's where all your plates and cups and knives and forks are now. Because they eat wherever they want to.
Yeah.
Exactly. Leonard, we're asking a question, brother, and good evening, Leonard. How you doing this evening? Leonard, can you hear me?
Good evening, brothers. How are you?
Hey, doing good. Leonard, we're asking a question, and I want to hear your heart on this, man. What are our roots as a people? And like I said, like I explained earlier, in order to you could tell a tree or plant or whatever it is, and when you go to the roots, you can tell exactly what it is. So, as in regards to that, Leonard, what are our roots and how we lost it?
You cannot lose your roots. You just may not identify with your roots. You know how I think of it? When you were just all together and things like that, and you apple trees, and say for this new type of gardening that's going on now. Whereas before you would have an apple orchard, right?
Yes.
You see apples. The bees would come in and out the trees, and you would have apple honey and things like that, because things were just apples.
Okay.
But now if you mix the trees, you're gonna see a lot of different types of fruit.
Like cross-pollinate or something like that is what you're saying?
Exactly. So
Okay,
say for instance, Muslims marry Muslims for a particular reason. Because there is a guide and how they live that's expected of each other. So those two, a Muslim man and a Muslim woman, raised to the best of their ability Muslim children. And everybody is Muslim. So there's no argument about how things should be or anything of that nature, because they're Muslims. Now, if you get out in the world and you start mating with this one, that one, everybody don't have the same ideas, don't come from the same background. So things are going to be different. You know what I'm saying? If a Jew marries a Christian, how you going to raise your children?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how I think about it. It's not that you
So are we really just that far? Are we really that far off base, Leonard?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Some people have no standards whatsoever.
Wow.
And then there's no real king in the house. You understand?
Okay.
No real king in the house. It's a king that sets the order. So if you don't have a king in the house, you may not have no order. Someone must insist on order in the house.
Yeah.
Somebody has to do that. And so that's how you stay intact with certain things and how you want them to be. Like, say, for instance, you don't lose your roots, but they're roots. They're just your roots. Your roots in the ground. So that's how I think of it. You don't see the roots, do you? No, they're underground where they're supposed to be.
Hold on for a second. I understand what you're saying, and we got a couple other people I want to touch them as well. But my thing is, the root is supposed to be like the foundation that keep everything stable and keep it strong and keep it strengthening the ground so it doesn't weave or fall over or break apart, if you will. We're as a people, are we broken? Have we broken apart? Have we lost?
You're just establishing new root.
We say it one more time.
You're just establishing new roots.
Wow.
That's all. Where you come from ain't gonna be where you end up. So it's nothing wrong with that at all. Because you have to think about it from that perspective. You know, I remember, you don't remember nothing. You were trained to do things a certain way, and that's how it was, because whoever was a parent or authority figure made you do that. Not because you were so good. Somebody came and gave you some rules. This is how we do. Like with my son, this is how we do. I don't know about nobody else, but this is how we do. You have to be very careful about roots. Because when you say root, do you know what the root is?
I know that we as a people are somewhat
that ain't good enough.
We've lost certain foundations. We've lost a certain part of our foundations.
What foundations did you establish?
Or
did it just grow wild?
Let me ask you this question right here. Would you agree, or would you say yes or no to the fact that we got some more people? We got a couple other people on the line. We have another brother with us. We may have lost him. I think Dargan was his name. So hopefully, if he's available, he could call back in or tune back in or log back in with us. But Leonard, from the time that way on back when we was making that transition from Africa to here. Do you think we're the same people?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
same seed that just blew and traveled across the water.
I mean, that's, and I say this all the time on here. I don't give anybody their opinion because everybody have their own.
Yeah, like I said,
I
and
just-
all of y'all ain't from there.
I feel a little different than that. But if we're talking about the root, I say that we all are from there. If we're gonna talk about the actual root,
The
because
white folks from there.
absolutely, like you
Think
said earlier,
they lost
like
their
it- like
roots.
like it was said earlier, everything that actually comes from that place, which is deemed or called the motherland. You're not gonna call it the brotherland,
Are you
the
talking
sister
about
land.
the
You call it
root?
the motherland.
Are you talking with a particular root of humanity?
If you want to go that deep on it, I guess you could go there.
What
if you
else?
wanna go that
What
deep.
other root?
Let it,
What
let
are you
it,
talking
let it,
about?
let it. We got a lot of people, man. This ain't just me and the Raheem and Leonard
Oh,
show now.
Yeah, I mean, well, just
Good
move
Lord.
on. Move on. I've been
Good
finished.
Lord. Let me go to Ibrahim. Ibrahim, good evening, sir. How you doing this evening?
Good evening. Good evening. I see y'all in a rare mood, but I'm glad I'm not the only one to come down. But in actuality, we were raised a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and that was what. When you raise a certain way, we're not monkeys, right?
Mm-hmm.
We weren't raised like I guess now people look at Father Knows Best, and that's the way you think things are supposed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a way that we ate. Certain days you ate, until the TV changed and you had sort of TV dinners, you didn't eat in front of TV, you ate at a table and had a discussion,
Mm-hmm.
or you ate, kept your mouth closed and got up and left. You know what I mean? The adults eat first, children eat serve last, right? And they eat and have a conversation and go. Now that was a tradition. A tradition is based on things that we used to do and that people felt calm and comfortable with it because it's a way to see everybody, to know how everybody felt about things, to have a bonding, so to speak, right? And that's why we still have cookouts. We still have family reunions. We have a bonding, sitting over a meal, right? Whether when you go back thousands of years, it was over a fire. Hundreds of thousands of years, it was over fire, or you go now, it's in a dining room. But now we don't have that bonding that we need to have. We need to have that thing about family and bonding.
So have we lost, Ibrahim? So am I hearing you say we've lost the foundation?
I would say foundation. I think that we lost the bonding, the thing that makes our civilization, that makes us one people.
Mm-hmm.
It makes us unique of other races or other groups.
Mm-hmm.
I was an elder child. I was raised up in something I didn't know that was an African condition. I was an elder child, and I was the sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
I held the law. I was told the law was, and it was my responsibility to hold the law in court. I heard early in the morning, I heard a lady talking about that, right? So everybody's supposed to do what I tell them to do, and I get to do the punishments, and then if I mess up, I get punished for everybody's mistakes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But that was an African tradition. That was in some tribe, not every tribe now, but that was an African tradition where the was the law. Parents set the table, and the eldest child takes care of the law.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's a cultural thing, and that is a black. That's one of the most cultural things that we still have, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
White people also saw our traditions and incorporate our traditions. If you're into history, I'm not talking about your concept, European history. They were still savages even after Roman times and the early UK, early English tradition, the early Germanic traditions, right? These people ate like savages compared to what we eat today. The Chinese were more progressive. The Africans were more progressive in the way they handled their food. That's called, we see some TV programs, see somebody eat with flies all over their food, or going for traditional culture for the TV. They get paid to do it. That don't make everybody like that. In the country of Africa. Some be more their traditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way that we about ourselves at the table, the way we handle culture and family and civilization is uniquely Africana.
Good deal. Good deal. Let's keep this thing going. Captain, good evening, sir. How you doing this evening?
Hey, peace to the gods. Fine. Thank you for having me.
Good deal. Good to have you, sir. Asking the question, what are our roots? Are we so, as a people, are we so mixed up and turned around that we don't even know what our roots are any longer?
Well, there's no question that our people lack the knowledge of themselves. We cannot ignore the fact that we're the only people that was brought over here a little over 500 years ago. We can't deny our existence of how we came over here. We definitely didn't come over in Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. We didn't come over here on those ships. So we don't have a knowledge of ourselves, because if we was to trace our roots take us back to the diaspora. It takes us back to the continent of Africa. No question about it. Most of our people do not have that history of our origin. And it's sad, because when I came into the Nation of Islam when I was 18, we had a lesson that says, who is the original man? I thought the original man was the white man. I was 18 years old. All I seen was Caucasian people in power and positions of power. I didn't know that the original man was the Asiatic black man that make it on the cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, God of the universe. I didn't know that. When Tarzan would come on television, I didn't root for the black Africans or the pygmies. I rooted for Tarzan. Get him, Tarzan. Get him. I was looking at any of the Western movies. I did not root for the Native Americans. I rooted for Gunsmoke. Get them, riflemen. Get them, Maverick. I didn't have the knowledge of myself. I was told that Africa, they found us over in Africa with a bone in our nose. We was running around in Africa butt naked. And we used to think white folks by how we was brought over here and civilized. When in reality, I found out on my 3 visits to the mother continent, I couldn't find a black person over there with a bone in their nose. And I've been there 3 times. I didn't find nobody over there butt naked. I've been there 3 times. I'm not going to say that if you went deep into the bush and the village, you may find some of our people tribal. But if you ain't never been there, and if you ain't never had a desire, then you can't take white people's history of us as if it is our root. No, we the only people, brother, that if you look in our blood, we the only people that can produce colors. White man, I went to the hospital, I got to guess which baby's mine. Is that my, no sir, Mr. Muhammad? Is that my, no sir, Mr. Muhammad? Because I know we can produce not only light to dark, but we can produce albinos. The white man can only produce white babies.
Wow.
So the root of us is that we are the original people.
Good deal. Good deal.
The family of Dr. Leakey, the Dr. Leakey family, they studied anthropology of the origin of man. They not in Europe looking for the origin of man. They're looking for Sanfuchila, which means the reverse man. And every time they find one of our bones in Africa, a billion years old, then they realize that bone had a daddy. Then they find another one, then they find out that bone had a daddy. So no, brother, we want to know the root of our history, then go where we watching at.
Good deal. Good deal. Gotta keep
black folks tell it, it ain't ours.
Exactly. Rodney, what's on your heart, brother?
All that history is interesting. However, that does not address the issue that we have today. And our offspring don't have the knowledge and not connected. I was old enough, I'm old enough now, I've lived through the tail end of segregation. I lived in the Black community where the doctors, the lawyers, everybody lived in the neighborhood. The dentist was around the corner, pastor lived around the corner. We had a culture. Then when the desegregation came in, we decided to move into the suburbs. In the mid-'80s, it was the generation of feel good, do what you need to do. It was more like it was independence. So most of our young Black folks decided to get an education and do away with their past and do away with their family structure. Like Leonard said, the problem is there's no Black kings in the family, but that's by design. It's by design. We have taken on the characteristics of the majority, or at one point the majority, and we have thrown away our culture. We kept pretty much like in the Bible, we gave away our birthright. We gave away all the things that were dear to us. We sacrificed it for a few dollars, a chance to sit at someone else's table and not make our own table. So again, I'm very familiar with all the history, Dr. Leakey and all the other stuff. But right now we're dealing with a generation of folks that are not connected. They're not even connected to their grandparents.
Wow.
And that's where we are at this point.
Absolutely. Pastor, talk to me.
I think the question, it goes in circles, to be honest with you, Raheem, because the way that it was asked, but yet the expectation of it is a little different. It's not exactly our roots that we're talking about, it's our culture that we're talking about, and they aren't necessarily exactly the same. The cultural changes, I think, go more so to what Rodney was just sharing, which kind of dovetails back to where I think Leonard was going when we're talking about how our families have been established, and where there was headship that most of us grew up with. Most of us grew up with headship, and most of us grew up, when I say most of us, I'm sorry, let me say you're Gen X and older. You're Gen X and older, meaning your mid 40s to 50s and older, grew up in that type of environment, particularly if you're from the South or Southeast. So that's the way that you were. And even in other parts where there's just, it could have been the North, Midwest, let's just say North and Northeast, where there was a lot of pockets of African Americans who were raised in a tight-knit culture, whether it was within your family unit yourself, where you had large families. Like my wife is the youngest of 12. So there were families that were big, and they were taught you take care of family, you love your family. Anybody that was of affinity to that family, they treated them like family. If they were, that they tried to do things against the children, they held their arm out. They didn't try to do anything to harm them, but they said, you're not going to cause. So they established culture and community. The men were taught to take care of the women. The women were taught to care for the men. All of that came out of culture and what was shared, what was passed down, which I think is what we're trying to establish as the root, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me, even with that, and even in the explanation that you just gave, which was a very good explanation, have we lost that? Do we still have that? Is that still a part of our whole existence?
Okay. Sure, and that's a fair question. Again, and I think that goes back to what, again, Rodney, and even what Leonard was saying. It's not that we've lost it. It's not that it's that we're not adhering to it. It's there. We're choosing not to. Many are choosing not to, because they're looking at something else and saying, I would rather have that. So whether we look at culture, whether we look at Bible, whether we look at that, we see that throughout time.
gonna jump in a couple of times, and like I said, we're gonna stay here just for a minute or two because I got a couple of other people. I want to be fair with everybody's time. What is
Sure.
that you're talking about when you say a person say, "I want that"? What is that we're speaking of?
Great question. I want what I see in society. I want what I see in the world as a Christian or as a believer. I want what I see in the world. That stuff you're talking about me being, not running around and doing drugs and not hanging out and not having sex with other people and all that kind of stuff and waiting till I'm married. I don't want none of that. I want the stuff I'm seeing right here. The stuff I'm seeing on TV, the stuff I'm seeing other folks at school do, because now I'm in a school where there is multicultural, there's multi-ethnic, people are doing all kinds of stuff, and they seem to be fine. They live and they have a fun life. I want to have that. And so and therefore the roots, if you will, or the standards that were established by mom and dad and grandma and granddad through the generations, now you don't value as much because you don't see that it has the same worth, because you don't think that it compares to the stuff you're seeing over there without being in their house, until you start having things happen in your life. And you wind up, we see a generation of men going to jail. We see a generation of men, of women raising their children without men trying to fight to get back in the lives of their children. All of this stuff is happening, and it has spiraled from that. So it's not that it wasn't there, it's that we neglected it, we rejected it, and now we're trying to figure out, well, what in the world's wrong? Well, we lost connection to our roots.
Okay. See, there's so many different directions I could go with this, but I want to bring other people involved. But what I'm hearing you say in a roundabout way. What I'm hearing you say in a roundabout way is we absolutely lost our focus, and because of the fact that we've lost our focus, we took away from who we are, and we try to attach our wagon onto somebody else that's going in a totally different direction, and it's taking us off of our course.
Right. I think that's a great way to explain that.
Okay. Good. Somebody wanted to say something. Who was that?
This is Ibrahim again.
Go ahead, Ibrahim.
One thing I think that me and a lot of others in my age complain about from my compadres, women and men, that we don't have no standards for the millennials. I mean, we don't enforce anything. We don't have expectations, and they don't have expectations of the type of life they want to live. We don't. I mean, kids are rewarded now for just saying something and showing up. You see a kid that he gets up and say he wants to be a doctor. Look, we reward them. Now, here you have a 13-year-old girl right now entering medical school, and it's just like a couple of things on the newspaper, people you wave at, and that's it. But we get a kid to go up. We have more Ebony magazine. We have all kind of awards for them because they say they want to do something, and turn out and don't do it. We don't have that type of thing. When I was with them expectations, I was supposed to go to work. I was supposed to raise a family. I was supposed to have these things in life, right? The things that I worked for. I'm supposed to be a pillar to the community and a credit to my race. That's what I'm supposed to do. But we don't. The X generation don't demand nothing of the millennials. I mean, they show up, and now we got the K's. They think they supposed to show up, and they think they're entitled to certain things. They're entitled to when they come to the table, and they must reinforce that. Well, I want to eat this. I want to eat that. I don't want to eat this. You know what I mean? They have no concern about what it takes to buy this, or what it takes to fix this and make this. They don't want to have to do it. They don't think. So we've lowered.
So basically, what you're saying, basically, what I'm hearing you say, brother, is we've lowered our standards.
We don't have any standards for them.
Wow.
They can just show up. That's good enough.
Okay. Hold right there, man. Like I said, we're already over the first 30 minutes. So we're gonna go ahead, take this to the top of the hour, and go. We got a lot of people that hadn't had an opportunity to say anything about this. Rico, good evening, sir. How you doing this evening? Rico?
I can't complain at all, man. How everybody doing?
Hey, doing good, doing good. Rico, we asking the question, man. What are our roots? Have we as a people, have we lost a connection with our roots, man? Do we even know what they are?
Yeah, I mean, in so many words, if you want to get down to the semantics, I already heard some people say, no, we didn't lose them. We just forgot them. But either way it go, we got distracted from them. We lost. Whether we lost them or whether we forgot them, we ain't on the right path. We going in the wrong direction. And it's obvious, because The things we complain about, you know, is actually proof of how things changed from the past. We talk about the 2-parent households, how prevalent that was in the past, you know, compared to now. We talk about the children born to one woman and they got so many different daddies, how that changed, you know. Now sometimes people will say, well, that happened in the past too. Yeah, you might have had one child that was called an illegitimate child, but you rarely saw women that had 9 or 10 different children by different dudes, and then they was even confused about who those daddies were. You know, so it's a lot of different things that people value now. You know, we talk about the standards. Yeah, they do have standards. I heard what Ibrahim said. They do have standards. It's just the standards ain't worth 2 cents. You know, they have materialistic standards. They want to get to the bag, but see, they want to get to the bags by any means necessary. So it was an honor standard that was in place at one point in time that made it to the point of where you say, well, okay, if I want a man, I want somebody that is getting money, I want them to at least be getting it in an honorable way. But sooner or later, the mindset started becoming money over everything. And when it became money over everything, then that made anything acceptable. As long as it made $1, it made sense. So now you got people cool with selling themselves, stripping, robbing, stealing, trafficking their own children just to get things that they want. They want man-made things. They want these desires. Some of it is drugs. Some people selling their children for drugs. There's some people selling the children just for the notoriety. You know, they want the viral moments. They want to find a way to get rich off of going viral. They want sponsors, you know. So I mean, it's all about recognition. You know, I think what I realized a long time ago in this life is that most people want to feel like that when they leave here, they want somebody to know that they were here, that they existed. So now you have a generation of people that want to make sure that they leave their mark by any way possible. They don't care if it's something positive. They don't want to be the next Martin Luther King Jr. They don't want to be the next Marcus Garvey. They don't even want to be the next Louis Farrakhan. They want to be the next Cardi B. They want to be the next Lil Uzi Vert or Lil Durk. They want to be the next rapper that's already dead at a young age.
Wow. 508-924-3521, 508-924-3521. We got a great conversation going on right here. We'd love to have you as a part of it. Give us a call. Again, the number 508-924-3521. Cornelius, what's on your heart, brother? Good evening. How are you doing this evening?
What up, though, my brother?
What's going on? What's going on? Asking the question, Cornelius, have we lost our, what are our roots? Have we lost it?
Yeah, I've been listening to all the great commentary that's been going on and what's been said so far. I'm gonna take it this route. I could go spiritual, but I'm not. I'm gonna stay on the natural side. You know, I look back. I'm assuming that most of us on here is about in the age range between 45 and up. I'm assuming. I don't know who all the age, but I'm thinking all of us around that same age. And if you go back into the 80s, the 90s, and when we were coming up through high school, we look back and we say, if you remember, a lot of our young ladies were having babies early. That was back in the day when they would say babies having babies.
Yeah.
And when you look back at that time, we didn't realize the type of effect that it was going to have back then. All we knew was we were having sex and we were doing whatever. And then crack cocaine hit the scene, drugs. And that flooded the community of the Black community back in the late 80s, early 90s, and all of the 90s and stuff like that. So you look back and you take all those ingredients and you stir it up in the pot of our community, and you begin to see a disconnect in the families. You begin to see a disconnect amongst one another, and you'll start seeing that you'll forget the traditions that your great parents have taught you, like the family style traditions and all these different things, like you think about sitting at the dinner table with your family and spending time and all. Now, some of us have held on to those traditions, but a lot of us have lost them. Though, and I believe that was the root of everything, family. And I think we lost that. And we didn't maintain that because of some of those ingredients that's been mixed into our culture, so to speak, or our family dynamic or our society. And that's why I think that's where the disconnect happened or where we lost to that. But I really believe it started in the late 80s, going into the 90s. A lot of that stuff began to happen, and we lost the family values, and then we end up losing our unity of different things of life, so to speak. So when you talk about roots, that's how I look at it, as that as a majority, as a whole. I'm not saying that all of it is that, but I believe a lot of it stems from that as well. So that's just my take on it.
Good deal. Good deal. Mr. Hicks, good evening, sir. How you doing this evening?
Good evening. Good evening. Doing fine. I pray everybody's doing well there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want to hear your heart on this, brother. Have we lost our roots? Are we connected to it? What do you say? What do you say to this?
Well, it's interesting. I was just doing some reading last night, and it just read on this line. And the thing I found out is that all the African slaves who came here and all the Africans in this country didn't have the same roots. So, beginning in the 1700s, there's many black folks that were free and that signed indenture contracts. And there was those who were semi-free, even though they were slaves, they were still working and getting paid. Having that advantage, they were more cultured and refined. But just in terms of their experience, it wasn't overt racism there, even for them. But in the South, which Thomas Sowell talks about black redneck, he said those Europeans who came to the South and got the land and got the plantations, that they came from the same culture that even when he defined it, sounded like he defined the black folks. So there was people in the South that grew up under the culture of the slave masters and adapted a lot of their attitudes about everything. And it said that at some point they had these Christian people from the North, from I think Michigan, Massachusetts, from that area. They were coming down, they was teaching, and they had a strict discipline. Really, their whole attempt was trying to undermine this culture, this black redneck culture. It's kind of thing like you step my shoes and would fight you. I'm being very promiscuous with sex and all of that stuff. And we heard that from our slave masters. So I don't think I think that in that sense that we have lost the roots, some of us. Because there's always been a class of black folks within mulattoes going to that thing of the color racism within us as a people. But there were always people that were refined. So a lot of times, Elijah Muhammad used to say this back in the day, right? He said that them people don't want us to move into their neighborhoods, bring in boom boxes and bringing everything from that culture. And so it was almost like a running from a culture, running from a disease, infectious disease. But I found that it's so much more complicated than I ever thought. And it just leaves me open to be open for new information, new knowledge, and on the spiritual, a new spiritual understanding to make it set right in my heart. Because I know a lot of times getting information and when you're looking at history, depends on how you look, you come out looking very angry and not being appreciative of the evolution of how, you think about it. I mean, sometimes we don't know how the things that we should appreciate of. Just the fact of this conversation. There's a lot of places you can't even talk about this here.
Yeah.
You couldn't even have a conversation. They can come in the middle of the night, all that stuff. We don't have that. Not perfect.
Yeah. Exactly. Let me go to two.
There's no blame. But I don't think it's a blame or fault on us. We dropped this here. Everything that's happened has happened. happened in politics,
Mm-hmm.
laws that were passed that had this effect on the communities.
Wow. Wow. Toussaint, what's on your heart, brother?
I was thinking about a potted plant.
Mm-hmm.
You take a plant. They say fruit don't fall too far from the tree,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can take the seed from the fruit and put it in a potted,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and remove it from its environment and have it grow
Mm-hmm.
somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
My question would probably, is it as strong as it was when it was in its natural habitat?
Mm. Mm.
If y'all
Yeah.
help me
Yeah.
think,
I'm with you. I'm with you. Mm-hmm.
y'all hear what I'm saying? Because we were, I believe, and it's just me, as a people, that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
We were growing close to the original tree, but somebody decided that the fruit was there, and they're gonna take the seed from its natural habitat, uproot it, and allow it to grow somewhere else. Just perhaps, maybe. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Is that what happened?
basically, there's a disconnect there because of the fact that it's been taken from its original place, put in a pot, and taken somewhere else and grown there. There's a disconnect to the original tree. Basically, is that what I'm hearing you say?
I'm just thinking it, trying to think it through, and my question would be: is it as strong as it once was? Will it grow with the strength? Because when it falls right there by the tree, then not only does that fruit grow or that seed grow in its habitat, its surroundings has a, and I'm just thinking, I think
Has a bearing on it.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Good deal. Good deal. Leonard, talk to me, brother. What's on your heart?
I think sometimes people confuse root with culture. Because you're talking about what you lost and whatever. The whole nature of a plant is wherever you go, you can take root. The Bible gives you several examples of how roots can sometimes grasp among stones and rocky places or what have you. God got mad at the children of Israel. Said, I'm going to pull your roots up and I'm going to scatter them across the river. Just because of how you didn't, he remember how folk made God mad in this land that he had given them, and he wasn't often in the book, he would pull them up and scatter them. But even then, that don't mean you don't grow. That just means you can root somewhere else. Root is what it is. Culture is changes. Culture change. You still could be, sometimes I always wonder when people say, I'm trying to find it. What are you looking for? What are you looking for? What are you looking to find out? I mean, what is such a mystery to you about who you are? Is it just for the nature of knowing? Sometimes I ask people when they talk about.
Hold on, I'm gonna pause your time just for 1 second. I think you said something just then, and for the sake of knowing, I would go with that as well, because my thing is right, if you don't know, and if is that disconnect and you don't know, they say a person that don't know their history is doomed to repeat it. And so if you don't know what your history is and where you come from and what those particular roots that we're talking about are, then I think that you're doomed to repeat the same cycle that you're going through. But if you acknowledge a person and give a person the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding as to who they are, you will give them a better foundation for them to stand on. That's just me talking. Go ahead, brother. Start your time back up.
To each his own. However, what are you looking for? There has to. It's just because you just want to know? Because if I told you who you were, would that change how you behave?
It should.
Why?
Because
Why?
now because just like I said earlier, because now you know if a person is being disrespectful or rude or something like that, and they don't know that they're being that, and you go and you make them aware that they're doing something. If they're talking bad to an elder or something like that, and they don't know that they're doing that, and you go and you make it obvious to them, this is what you're doing, bro. This is what you're doing. This is why you're doing it. Now that should make them aware that they cannot act in that way, and so they should do better. That's just me talking. I think that a person. I think
that's
old
behavior.
people say, hold on. Old people say this way. When you know better, you do better. That's what I go to that.
That to me, that's just behavior and culture. Root is root. It is truth. How you behave or whatever, you can do or behave however you want. That wouldn't change your roots at all, right? So one, we have to think of it. I mean, you know, some people can, but if you insist on finding something that is not there, that would be my word. Are you gonna agree with the root? Is that your thing? Because if you're saying that, it's almost like the Bible say, you know, do you believe that you were holy?
I don't think, and you get 30 seconds. Let me let you go ahead and finish. Go ahead, brother.
You know, so we have to be careful with this searching for something that we don't even know what we're looking for. If you just want to know your genealogy, be about that. You can go find that. That's just work. But does you think that will really change who you are?
I think that
You could establish what you want, but I'm saying now, like say for me, I remember when we all used to sit together. Then go somewhere and sit together.
Leonard, if see the way you put it out there, Leonard, if it was really that simple, it would have been done years ago. It's not really that simple, brother.
So it's not simple for you to have dinner at your house?
No, that's not what we're talking about, Leonard. Come on, man. Come on now. See now you going away from what we're talking about. You know that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now, Leonard. Come on, brother. You bigger than that. Let me go ahead, Rodney.
I still go back to the beginning by saying this is all by design. When we were brought over from the motherland as chattel, they consciously made sure they separated the tribes so they could not communicate. They could not bring their culture with them. They could not bring their roots with them.
All that
once they got here, and we tried to establish a family, even working in the fields, they sold our children, took our wives. All right. So that bond wasn't there. Anytime you got familiar with another person and created a bond, it was taken away. That system prevails even today in so many ways. We talk about the family structure, how the war on drugs. We talk about all the stuff that's going on. It's by design for control. They figure if they can keep you, the powers that be can keep you in turmoil, you don't have time to identify who you are, what you are. They constantly keep you in turmoil. Now, it is our responsibility for us to reconnect and to make it work. We are resilient people. We will find a way to get back to our roots, to find our families, to do whatever we have to do. That's our responsibility. But we also have to realize the deck is stacked against us. We talk about the 70s. I talk about this all the time with young men. I said, if you remember that movie Claudine, where James Earl Jones wanted to marry this woman who was on welfare, and they said, if I find shoes under the bed, I'm taking your money away. Then the 80s came. More black women started going to college, getting degrees. They were making the $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year, while the male was making maybe $25,000, $30,000. Knowing that if the man could not financially support his house, he wasn't a man of his own house. Then after that term, then after we got through that hurdle, working together, then they started the mass incarceration, taking the men out of the household. So it's like every turn that we get to, there's a system in place that distracts us from us being ourselves. Now is that placing blame? No, but we need to take responsibility and reach out, talk to the younger men, talk to the younger women. There's a proverb the pastor can tell you. It says, older women teach the women. You know what I mean? Men teach your boys. We as adults at our age range, I must admit, majority of us have neglected our roles because we do not spend time talking to the young men about real issues. You got a football career or you got a good job. Don't worry about all the other stuff. You know. And then when you get pulled over by the cops, there's no structure, there's no foundation, there's nothing there. So again, we have to take responsibility as men from the age of 45 to 60 that we done all we could do to make that connection work.
Good deal. Let me give the phone number one more time. People asking for the phone number 508-924-3521, 508-924-3521. I see Rico done gone to one of his favorite places. Pastor, what's on your heart?
Man, yeah, that's what Brother Rodney was saying. I think is important. We got to realize what the real issue is. I mean, if we want to use this root analogy, then every root, every plant, you got to be able to care for it. You got to nurture it. You got to fertilize it. You got to water it. But if you aren't, then the root is not necessarily the issue. But what's going to come out of it because it's not being cared for is something else. And
Master, let me ask you. Let me cut through the chase a little bit here. We as a people, have we been nurtured and upheld and done the things that we're supposed to be to move forward in this society at a fair or equal pace?
Okay, if we're asking the question, has our society nurtured us?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
But yes.
Let me put it this way. It's not our society's responsibility to nurture us. It's our responsibility to nurture ourselves. Because if we wait on society, we will be waiting for another 100 years. We cannot do that. We know how we were raised. The question is, are we pouring it in? This is where I kind of see where Leonard was coming from, because there could be two boys raised in the same house. One will follow everything that his daddy gives him, and another one will not. How do we know this? There are stories in our very Bible that allude to that and teach us that point. So it's so the father has a responsibility of pouring in and teaching. The sons have a responsibility of receiving what the father is taught and to walk it out. And the rest of that, it becomes a matter of the father showing love and waiting on that son, loving that son, chastising that son, rebuking that son, but still caring for him, the one that's not doing right, encouraging the one that's lifting up and doing the right thing, but still moving forward, period. Well, the issue is a lot of us have stopped moving forward, and we're looking around, blaming everybody else, pointing at this one, pointing at that one, instead of saying, okay, I don't have time to wait for that. We've got to get up and move forward.
Malcolm said something. Martin said something years ago. He said, we're expecting people to, we're expecting us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, but how are we to do so when we have no bootstraps to put ourselves up by? You know, you in order to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you have to have some boots. And
I agree with that.
In some instances, brother, we're not even given the boots, and we're told to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. What boots? Where am I gonna find the straps if I don't even have the boots? Rico, what's on your heart, brother?
Yeah, I agree. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the one thing about it is, it's true what he was just saying about the two sons being brought up in the same household.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That does happen. But
Absolutely.
what also happens is that you have some sons that's brought up in a household with no guidance, with no father to tell them that. You know, and we have that issue. You know, we was talking about roots. You know, and imagine having your roots in the ground but not knowing if you're an apple tree or not. You just got something growing on your limbs. That's what's going on with a lot of these guys and women having babies, but they don't really know what the responsibility is of the roots that they're sowing. They dropping fruit, but don't know what the purpose is of the fruit. They don't know how special it is of a plant that they are, because we didn't nurture them right. Somehow it got lost. You know, I hear, well, what's the use in going back, finding out who you are? You know, what happened in the past was that you had some people that never ran across their brothers and sisters, and then they had children, and first cousins met each other, and before you know it, they started having children together randomly, just by they happened to meet each other. Why? Because they didn't know their roots. They didn't know where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
How many children you know right now want to know who their daddies are? I would hate to ask them why they care. What is it gonna do? It's gonna do something, because they're definitely desperate to find out their roots. They want to find out who their grandparents are. They want to know they might have some other brothers and sisters. They
Mm-hmm.
might have some other cousins. There's so many other reasons why people want to know where their roots come from. You know, you don't want to start mixing up family blood later on down the road, even though you might be 4th or 5th cousins removed. Somebody might want to do a DNA test. They want to do the genealogy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now all of a sudden you're gonna tie it up and met somebody in your family and married them. You ain't gonna want nobody to know that. But if you had known ahead of time, you might not have crossed those lines. So I mean, it's so many reasons why you should know where you came from. You know, and when you find out that somebody actually made it a point to try to make sure you didn't know where you came from, then that lets you know that it's important.
Mm-hmm.
Where you came from has to be very important, and it's a reason why they don't want you to know.
Mm-hmm.
We might not figure it out, but it's best we find out, because we might find out why they didn't want us to know.
Mm-hmm. Wow, good deal, good deal. Captain, what's on your heart? Captain, can't hear you. Can't hear you, Captain. No, we can't hear you, Captain. I see you saying something by the motion of the screen, but we can't hear what you're saying. You got your volume turned up. Let me come back to you. I want to go right now to let me go to Mr. Hicks. Mr. Hicks, what's on your heart, sir?
Oh, yes. I really enjoyed this. I was thinking in terms of roots and knowing the past. I think that it's going to be knowledge that unite us. I mean, the true knowledge of why things are the way they are. And start connecting the dots of politics, economics, worldviews, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just to think sometimes we don't even know all of those pictures they gave us of the founding fathers and Abraham Lincoln and all that stuff. We always got these white pictures, just like they did with Jesus, right? Well, you check the history and some of the documentation of their colors of hue, it's like they weren't calling each other white or black then. It was just those who had the royals and who wasn't. There are a lot of people we think were white were black. You know, that we got free, we owned slaves too. It was an economic system. But I think once you understand that without the passion of emotion, that when everyone begin to learn their history, even in terms of white folks, they don't know why they act the way they are, why they had the prejudice they had, but it came from, they brought it here with them. They was affected with the disease that they brought from Europe to here. But you need to know. The more you know about the true things, not what they try to put in front of you, just go beyond what they're telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't trust them. That's the first thing you do. Don't trust them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Indians say, they speak with forked tongue. When I say that, it's not a race I'm talking about. I'm talking about an ideology, a thought process, a desire for world domination and control of people. But we need to know what's going on, put the dots together on everything, current events and the history. But it's all connected.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Let me go to Ibrahim. What's on your heart, brother?
Oh yeah, thank you, brother. You know, I'm not going to use the. I think we kind of beat that group down pretty good now. But I would say that we didn't lose things when we made that transatlantic voyage from 1500 up until the early 1800s. We didn't lose that culture.
Mm-hmm.
It was a culture that would start being established that some had already been here a long time. And there was a culture too of the black Africans that arrived tens of thousands of years ago. They had already had a similar culture. The culture developed and changed to some extent, as was spoken about earlier. But one thing about culture, they come back around to be what the basis of it is, what the purpose of it is. And I think one thing that we don't teach, one thing we don't teach our children about responsibilities. We're more comfortable raising a child than we are raising an adult. And I think that we're doing a disservice to them. And that seems to be people feel more comfortable with that a man at 30 shouldn't have responsibility of a man that's 70. I mean, he should be there. 35 is the year that you can run for president of the United States, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm.
You can do this, that, and the other thing. People are running the country at 30, running the world at 35, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not 45. And then you got people coming out at 15 years old and 20 years old. They're setting the standard for their particular generation and the coming generation. Every 24, 28 years is a new generation. And so when we start looking at things like that, we are really mistakenly not educating ourselves and educating, the next generation when they become 6 and 7 years old. And in Islam, you can marry women of any religious group or race, but you maintain the standard. That's actually Islam. But as far as like teaching, the woman has a child till the child reaches 7 years old or reaches almost to their puberty years. Then it's the man that takes over and raises the child to the society, to the nature. She sets the laws. She shows them the worth and the value of community and family. And the man takes them outside that and show them the world and what their responsibilities are.
30 seconds.
The girls and the boys.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the type of things that I don't want to excuse myself from that.
Mm-hmm.
I got great grandchildren, for God's sake, and I'm arguing with their mothers. My grandchildren. I'm arguing with them about how they raising their children, and it seems so bizarre that I have to tell them something that they should know, and they rail against it and are angry about it because I have the audacity to tell them something about raising their child, and they're unfit to raise them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's my opinion, but based on something real, I think they're unfit to raise their children to be adults.
Okay, good deal, good deal. Let me go back to Captain. Captain, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Talk to me.
Good. I just want to address the gentleman that came right after me. He said that I misunderstood. I did not stick to what you asked. I was kind of shocked. I thought you talked about the root. I didn't know you was talking about the tree. I know that culture and root is two different things, as was beautifully explained by many on this line, especially Dr. Leonard. And I was talking about root. Now, I didn't know you was talking about culture, because culture is nothing but beliefs and behavior that is shared by any group. And culture changes. I like what Dr. Leonard, culture changed. And the culture that we came over here with has not been the culture that we came from our roots in Africa. Every tribe in Africa had a different culture. So you can't use the word culture and attach it to root. I was dealing with the root. Now, if we're not dealing with the root, I'm sorry. Again, I did miss the mark. I thought we were dealing with, that's the question you asked me.
About the root, yes.
Now, if we want to talk about culture, then of course, we have a culture we created a culture in America. The culture that we have is a culture that we created. If the word culture means, if it means beliefs and behaviors that is characteristic of a shared group, then anything that we are involved with that most of us agree with and we come up in that becomes we have a culture of violence. Beliefs and behavior that is shared by a certain group. That's a culture of violence. So we have to be very clear if we're going to use words. I'm sorry, maybe I'm too much into knowing definitions, but ain't not one black leader that has been of consequences that had something to do with the advancement of black people in America who had not and went back to Africa. Name Dr. John Henry. Name them all. You can't talk about the root of us until you go to its origin, because we have allowed history distort us. We've allowed other people give us their narrative of us. We are grown black men on this line. How could we keep passing on to our children ignorance because we refuse to learn? We refuse to go out and try to get an understanding of our roots. Africa was named by a white explorer by the name of Afghanis. So it was never called Africa. It It was made by the conqueror of Africa, if we want to know the truth of the word Africa. But of course, y'all know that. Y'all know that. I ain't got to teach you something you don't know. It was called Asia. It wasn't called Africa. But if you want to know something, talk to people of intelligence. If you don't open up your mouth and put your brains on display. If we think you ignorant, then don't open up your mouth and remove all doubt. We got to begin to understand, if we want to teach our young people, don't give them a culture that we had to design under slavery. We had to adapt to a culture. But don't say that's our culture. No, it's not. That's the culture we had to adapt to. Was that our culture in Africa? No, it can't be our culture in Africa because Africa had so many tribes. They had a different culture. But what is our root? We're original people. That's our root. So we want to deal with the root. And that's, I like what Dr. Leonard said. You can pull up the root, but if you kill the root, the tree going to die. That tree going to die. But you can plant the root. Pull up. Mama would say, pull up that turning root. Pull it up. Okay, let's plant it over here. You can plant your root anywhere you want to plant it. But it's still the root because the root is the origin. That's what I thought you was asking me, Raheem. The origin.
Yes, it was.
That's some culture we adapted since we've been over here as a slave people. Our culture would constantly change. You got a culture of violence. You got a culture of intellect. You got a culture of art. You got a culture of this. You got a culture. But if you want to talk, know the words that you use. And don't be so proud to try to come on and drop down on another man because you don't know. I would never tell somebody, well, you don't miss one. How you know what I know? I never met you before in my life, partner. But we got to stop that because you don't know. I'm through with it, man.
Good deal. Toussaint, talk to me, brother. Okay, I guess that's it. I guess that's it.
I'm confused. I don't know what that was. Confused.
Okay, it's okay to be confused. Let me go to Rico because Toussaint line, something going on with Toussaint's line over there. Rico, what's on your heart, brother?
Yeah, man, I agree with everything he said, man. You know, but I'm gonna just get back on what we was talking about. I guess calm it down a little bit. There's something odd to see people involved in the rat race and not know what the rat race is. It's hard to ask a latchkey child if they know what a latchkey child is, and they don't even know it's them. They don't. I mean, that's some of the things that is in our culture now. Not our culture, but that keeps us from knowing our roots and our culture. Is the fact that we don't even know, we haven't even told children what position they're in. Now that is a condition that was created. So we ask, do they know? Are they being nurtured properly? No, they're not nurtured properly. They don't know that they are the actual. They are the. I want to say the victims of industrialization. They are the victims of a society that demands that you have to get out here and work to survive. You have to make a sacrifice and work 2 jobs sometimes to survive. And you don't have the opportunity to teach your children where they came from, who they are. They're finding out in so many different ways from so many different influences. Donald was saying that about the roots in the tree earlier and the environment that surrounded that tree. Now, what environment is around these latchkey children and these children that are born into the rat race, but they don't even know they are born into this type of society? What environment is around them? So we wonder, what are they learning? What will they be able to pass on? Ibrahim was right when he was saying that about talking to his grandchildren about the things that they're doing for their children that being wrong, and they're telling the older generation that they're wrong. Giving some lip back. That's what they call it, giving lip back. That's because they don't know any better. So that's why it's so important for people to know where they came from. That respect thing. That's not part of our disrespecting like you see it right now. That's not part of our culture. But now it has become prevalent. It's become popular or trending. So we pretty much what has happened to us, we have become a society addicted to culture. We're led by culture and trend right now. That's got us completely away from our roots, got us completely away from knowing who we are, where we came from, or where we're going. I mean, you know, sort of rambling right now because it's so many different ways you can tie this in to not knowing your roots and not knowing your culture. You know, but we really are just completely trying to figure it out as we go. I mean, we adapt.
Yeah.
You know, we are creatures of our environment. You know, we had to learn and make a way to survive. That's really and truly what we are. We are creatures of survival because we had to adapt and learn a way to survive over here that was completely out of our element. But now, for us to succeed in it, we've sort of adapted these Western and Europeanized ways that is completely out of our roots and our culture.
Yeah. So,
you know, it's important that we know where we came from because, you know, we're trying to figure out why we are all over the place. Why you know, some people might say, well, our society isn't chaotic. Yeah, it's a little chaotic in the Black community. It's a little chaotic. Like I said, it's people right now, they're bearing fruit and don't even know what type of fruit or what type of tree they are.
Absolutely. We're gonna go in this order right here. We're gonna go back to Toussaint, then we're gonna go to Rodney, and then we're gonna go. Somebody said a hand up. Oh, Cornelius. We gotta go to Cornelius. I hadn't heard from that brother in a minute, so I definitely gotta go back to him. So, Toussaint, what's on your heart, brother?
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm just thinking. I don't know. I know what a root is. I know what a tree is. I know what a fruit is. But does every fruit or seed come from the original tree? Or am I overthinking what we're talking about? And I understand that we're talking about the origin of things. But all kinds of things happen in this society that we live in, even in the world, because you can graft something that you want to grow. You can manipulate the growth. You can bend a small tree. But that every tree have its own fruit. I'm not too bright now. But one thing I will not agree or admit to is total ignorance or stupidity. I won't do that. I'm not stupid. That's what I'm trying to say. I might not be too bright, but I'm not stupid. And I know that not only in society, but when it comes to growing things, especially plants, when you look at it, when the tree grows or it bears a fruit, that fruit falls from the tree and another seed comes out of the fruit that produces its own root. Am I stupid or what?
No. There's a lot of different. You left me.
I know. I mean, I'm just sorry. I'm just trying to figure it out.
You left me 8 or 10 different alleys I could go down with what you just said. But so I'm gonna do this right here. I'm gonna move on. But to answer your question, no, you're not stupid at all, brother. Rodney, what's on your heart? Cornelius, coming to you next.
Yeah, I'll make it real brief. I think where the conversation kind of got off track is we are survivors. We develop a culture based on our survival mechanism. However, if we connect to our roots, we will develop a rooted culture. So the key is getting back to the root and recapture our own culture and develop our own culture. The culture that we've taken on now, like the gentleman mentioned, we took on all the negative stuff and made it our culture. We have to get back to the root and redirect it. It's like this. If you're looking at your GPS, you're going to New York City, and it's telling you to go up 95, and you're going up 85 somewhere else. It's time for you to get back in line with the direction you're going in. So the key is get back in touch with your roots and redirect your culture. we're going to have a culture no matter what happens. We can choose our culture by going back to our root.
Okay. Cornelius, what's on your heart, brother?
Yes, sir. Wow. Oh man. For a minute, man. Well, hey, I thought I was the only one that had I'm passionate about stuff, and I kind of express my passion. I love it when my man just kind of expressed himself, and hey, I feel you. It's a lot of things. But I'm gonna say this, man. I'm gonna go spiritual because I've been listening and I've been thinking about some things, and I think about sin. And you look back, and I'm gonna tie it all in right quick. I look back. When you read the Bible, you find out about Israel, those original people that came out and was in captivity, and they come out, and God led them to the promised land. But when they got into the promised land, they began to hook up, became part of a culture, so to speak. And they lost who they was, the children of God, Israel's people. And they end up adapting to the people that was in the promised land.
Exactly.
And what they call them, the Jezebites, and all these different people that was, and they began to worship their idol gods. And they began to offend God because of these things. And all of that is sin. And a lot of things that you see, just like I was talking to this brother, brother from Africa, the motherland. He come from, I was talking to him, he had my job. Matter of fact, it was the same guy that I told you about that got into the argument with a while ago. And I began to, I told him, and I asked him, I said, did you used to use, I said, talk about profanity. He didn't use profanity till he came here. A lot of these people that come from overseas, they don't be used dropping F-bombs and bitchs and all that stuff until they get to the United States. I was talking to a girl from Bosnia that works here. I asked, I said, have you ever cussed when you was in Bosnia? She said, no, only when I got to the States. But the African brother told me this. He said this. He said, I had to adapt here so I can be able to around to be able to adapt to what the people do around here. So I won't show like I'm weak. So I said, man, you don't have to forget who you are and where you come from. Be different. Stand and remember who you are. You are black. You intelligent black man from the motherland. Act like it. You don't have to use profanity to express how you feel. You can use words if you educate yourself enough to, because I have learned over the years, I can go off on a joker now without cussing them out no more. Because why? I educated myself.
Yeah.
I can say words that where you been and got cut up and don't even realize you got cut up. And those are the things that where you, as a person, you don't have to adapt to people's culture because you always want to remember where you come from. Stay with the root of what brought you up and to maintain who you are. And you ain't got to act like everybody else.
Exactly.
Stand out. Be proud. Be strong in who you are. Because if you don't, that's the root of sin. Because one of the biggest things that when you go back to the beginning, that's the first beginning of sin, was taking accountability for your actions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good. No man don't like to take that accountability. So that's just my take.
Good deal. Good deal. Badger, good evening, sir. How you doing this evening?
It's been a beautiful day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's on your heart?
Oh man. So culture and origin, right?
Well, actually talk about the root.
The root. Oh man. You know, I know a lot about my Native American roots. I hardly know anything about white roots.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I've dug, the more I've researched, just to know. It stems to what happened with the Romans, for the most part, and it's wild to be surrounded by a ideology of not knowing who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just speaking in general. To not know who you are outside of what you're told to believe in. And this is something I've talked to Leonard about on the side is, you know, I have a huge curiosity of understanding what white culture is. Because I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the white roots are either. Aside from the nonsense and lies that get spread.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, you know, being a half-blood and trying to understand, I've just come to accept that the best I can do with the history that I've been looking into is make my own roots and decide what kind of roots they're going to be. So that way my kids have something to fall back on. So I guess this topic is a little sensitive to me because of there's half of me that pretty much comes from a type of people that have done genocide and all kinds of stuff to different people.
30 seconds, Badger. Mm-hmm.
And beyond that, I don't know anything. We don't, the history's gone.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That plane was kind of close there, Badger. You sure you okay over there? That plane like
yeah, I just stepped outside and the plane decided to fly like maybe 100 yards above my house.
Okay. I'm just
Good
saying, man.
God.
That seemed very, very close. Leonard, what's on your heart, brother? Talk to me.
I'm just listening. I love what Captain Dennis said, and you know, I love that what he said is because it's the minister.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't when you hear it, you know it.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that each and every one finds what they're looking for. But don't discredit other men. What if you look in your roots and found out you wasn't worth nothing then? I like what Badger was saying, right? Because me and him talk about are you trying to find out who you are or where you from? Get it together. Get it together. Stop stop just throwing words out there and thinking everybody ought to understand what you mean. What is it that you want, black man? What do you want for yourself? Because as far as I remember, you carry the seed. You determine where you plant it. So I'm not understanding, and so that's why I'm refraining.
Mm-hmm.
Because I move quick to chastisement. You understand? Like I like what my man Donald said. I'm gonna stand in a room full of black people and everybody gonna agree. Let's agree we stupid. What? Let's agree we don't know. What? Just because you don't know, I ain't got to know. I can't know.
Let me ask you this: is ignorant a bad thing?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's just where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you are. I'm a now man. I ain't no history man. I'm a now man. I can do whatever I want now. I don't care how bad I was before. I can be better now.
Okay, would you say, and I'll just stop your time. You got 108. Would you say that who you are now is a result of the shoulders that you had to stand on in order to get to where you are now? There has been a lot of people in the past that has had to go through certain trials, tribulations, hardships, or whatever, traumatic situations to make it to where you can actually stand where you're standing right now? Would you attribute that to some of the people of the past?
I would definitely attribute what I learned from them, yes. But it's not a big deal.
Wow.
It's not that big of a deal to me. It's just
me.
not. You know, now if I don't know what is the desired outcome, that's more what I'm interested. What are you looking for? I remember I said before, and as we've begun talking since the beginning, I've been kind of the same since the beginning of this conversation. I've been kind of consistent since we begin this conversation. I'm not going to try to lead another brother into darkness. I'm just not going to do that.
Explain to me the darkness you're speaking of.
Though Captain Dennis just told you, when you know, you know. This is the attracting of the honor of the minister. It's because he worked on it. You know, he checked it out. All these great teachers and great anthropologists and all these African folks that you could go and read and learn from and do this. If you wanted to do it, you can do it. And you can handle it real fast. But how does that change how you treat the person you living with today and now? Does it?
But my thing is this right here, and we got to move on to somebody else. But my thing is this right here. You said the minister, and one of the things that he do all the time. Yes, he knows. Absolutely, he know. And I'll be the first one to tell anybody that asks me that he does know. But what he do, he spreads, he gives it to people. He freely gives it to people to make sure that they know as well. He lifts them up from where they are. He goes to where they are. He lifts them up from where they are. But he had to have a leader, and to bring him to where he is. And he had a great leader. I don't have to tell y'all the history, but he had a great leader that taught him the things that he know and paid it forward. And so I'm saying that if an individual is lost, in this day and time, and you know, it's a beautiful thing that you know. It's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with knowing, but you can't keep it to yourself. You have to make sure that if I go to an individual and they don't know, I'm going to attempt to give it to them, to feed them the things that I know so that they too can know. But if they resist it, they made a conscious choice to resist it. But that doesn't mean I did not try.
Right. That's some people pick up that mission to enlighten others. But like the word says, he who hath the ear, let him hear. If you don't want to hear, don't you just won't sit around and be dumb. Just be dumb then.
Hear.
That's what.
In order to hear, somebody got to speak. There got to be something to hear. There got to be something to hear. And that's
right.
Exactly what I'm talking about. You have to be able to give it to the people so that they can also hear what it is that you know.
But one of the things that we've done is we've attacked people.
No. We got to keep it going, man. We got just a few more minutes, but we don't spend the whole 2 hours on this topic right here. Lord Jesus, boy, I got three topics for next week though, so that's a good thing. But let me go to Mr. Hicks. Mr. Hicks, what's on your heart? Mr. Hicks, you there?
Yes, I'm sorry. Wow. I was thinking, right, in terms of culture and roots, right? And the roots of how the elders used to have a hand in the people around them. But we don't live in that kind of situation. But here recently, I ran into some people that had problems just because I opened up to them, just always smiled to them and always spoke to them. And had a little conversation, and they started telling me some of their problems, right? For instance, like a young lady, 30 years old, got 2 kids, and she's by herself, and her head's all mixed up, and she's got childhood traumas and that. And I talked to her, and just one conversation, but I got her to understand that it's not hopeless for her. You know, there are people out there that have a problem, let her reach out for help from the agencies. I said, you got kids, but it's just like, God, the source will always bring someone in your circle that you can help with a word. And the word that I only give is like, you got to be disciplined. I can't do this for you, but there's somebody can. You got to find that your own way to reach them and reach it, or however it is to find that base inside of yourself. And you have to do that by reading. I can give you this book. I gave her a book, and she read the first page, and the first time I said, I like that book. I like it. I said, yeah, it's a book just about how to better yourself. So I think that's starting a culture in your circle, someone around you. If you open up, have a need that you can fill, And I think that's building the culture, because that seed you plant, which is a seed in someone, they pass it on. We can do little things in our own. I'm sorry, I got the TV on. But I forgot. Oh, I'll be into these documentaries. But yeah, but that's how I was thinking, just in terms of what can I do? Because I know what I feel. What can I do? And just like just talking to you guys on the phone every morning, just sparked this in me. Like, what can I do?
Yes, sir.
And it was just like open up, and God will show you right there. You can do this. Drop this word. Drop the book. But that was our roots. Our roots were that kind of community. I mean, even when I come down south and somebody, even up north, even times somebody got to get evicted, they throw a party. Everybody throw a party for the person and pay their rent. But it was always a culture of helping.
Yeah.
And giving.
Exactly. Pastor, talk to me.
What you want me to say?
Be careful.
Exactly.
It feels like there's glass on the floor. No, actually, I think that a lot of things have been shared. And I go back to something that I was saying earlier, and it goes back to my issue, not my issue, but I think we have to look at society and culture in this conversation, because it seemed like where it was going is that there's a discontentment with it. And then how do we grow beyond it? How do we move beyond that? And if we're looking at that, then I think they've been shared. Looking at, especially, and Brother Rodney was alluding to some of this where he's looking at the 70s. One thing that we don't talk about as much when we're looking at that, especially how the man was, being marginalized, because when culture changed, when most men were coming with a trade between the late 50s, 60s, into early 70s, then they shifted to getting an education. And so now guys were coming out with educations, but no trade. And therefore they weren't working with unions. They weren't able to provide for families. So a lot of that has to come into this conversation. If we're talking about culture and how our families have been marginalized, particularly people of color, and the position of the man in the house was marginalized. But again, because we're talking about society, so that's when we have to look at things and how we as people.
Pastor, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you think that and this is a individual question. Do you think America as a whole has done a disservice to the black man here?
I think it's done a disservice to every men of people of all colors, or every color, black, brown, of course. It's always tried to marginalize, and that's since its inception. We talk about building the roads in the and bridges in the industrialization. I think that was the 30s and 40s. Of course, they used our hands, and we got no credit for it. We built the buildings, and they were able to go in them and go to the penthouses and have jobs in which we had to walk by and try to find work elsewhere. So yeah, absolutely, that's a part of this culture. That's a part of this society. So that's why I was saying you can't look at the society to bridge the where you want to be as a people, as a family. So that's when I said, look, if we're talking about the difference between a root, which is which is what builds, where everything comes out of. The root is what provides nutrition and nutrients to grow. Then that's one thing. That's not coming from society. That comes from within. So then they did start poisoning. Brother Rodney, wonderful job again, talking about how they sold crack cocaine in the 90s. And of course, the white powder cocaine, the white kids get caught for that, slap on the wrist, crack cocaine, you get 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
So that was another way to pull him out of the house. To then they started looking for, I think it was the one y'all was talking about. Then they started just trying. Rico was talking about, now you're trying to figure out how to make money, because money became your Lord and became your God, and that's what you wanted more than anything else, because that's what will allow you to feel in your mind that you were able to compete and have the type of lifestyle that you saw in your culture and society. So the question becomes, what is it that you really want? Do you want what the culture gives, or do you want what the God who created you wants you to have? And that's where, so yeah, I mean, this is where all of that comes from. And we got to make a decision. What is it that you want?
Rico?
Do you just want a car, a house? You want people to be looking at your bling bling and thinking that you're all that? Or do you want to be able to raise a family that actually has values and that can move on? And when you're dead and gone, there's something left for them to stand on, because that will be the root. Okay, I'm done.
You preach your microphone, boy. You have to pull it away from you. You better pull the cord out the wall, out the speaker, or something. But Rico, talk to me, brother. Good job, man.
You hit it, man. I mean, it ain't too much I can say behind that, man. I mean, him and Aaron Rodney pretty much summed up what I was trying to say. You do have a choice, but I think one reason, it's important to know your roots is because this thing called legacy. If roots aren't important, then what's the use in you planting your roots? Your children might think the same thing. So I think it's important to know your roots, because you need to know when you are making these choices, what you are benefiting. Like, say, for instance, a lot of the things that we as melanated Black Americans do over here, we think is for our best benefit, for our best interest, and we think it's for the best benefit of the country. But we do know that a lot of the things that we go through over here is rooted in racism. The whole success, the whole foundation and the whole success of America, the whole power structure and where America is today is rooted in white supremacy and racism. But see, if you don't know that, you'll be patriotic. You'll be a gung-ho American running uphill ready to die and fight for your flag, and you'll be a cop that's shooting at black mug shots and saying that ain't got nothing to do with racism. You can easily be a Clarence Thomas. There's nothing worse than being a Malcolm X, but then at the same time in the same conversation, you being Clarence Thomas. But if you don't know how things are rooted in racism, because you don't think roots are important, you'll overlook some of the things that you feel like we value. See, our value system in our culture is messed up because of the roots of racism. That's how important it is to know your roots. So then you'll know why our culture is the way it is. While we don't know our culture, we was talking about twerking the other day, and somebody said, well, look, we so stupid, we don't know that twerking is a part of our heritage. I said, out of all the things we don't know about our heritage, we know that twerking is a part of it. Ain't that something?
Wow.
We associated that with our roots and our culture. But being the fact that we were uprooted, you get what I'm saying, and had to plant our roots somewhere else in another environment that somebody else created, then we got out of order. So now we're wondering, why are we out of order? Why are we all over the place? Why is it so hard for us to unite like every other race? It's because we are actually participating in the success of a country that success depends on racism.
Exactly. Sad but true. Tucson, what's on your heart?
Man, I'm enjoying this from every aspect. wherever it's coming from, man. I mean, one thing that I try not to do is discredit good information, no matter whether I might not get it.
Mm-hmm.
Sooner or later, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
There's so much value in this conversation because we're all from different backgrounds. And what happens is that you can use it all for your benefit.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ream some of it out because I'm not Native American, you're gonna miss something.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's gonna happen. Because we are all from the originator. Let me just throw this out here for free. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein. We all come from the source, not the resources. That's what we function on. That's what we try to do. We try to function and go about based on the resources, and you miss it all. Doggone it, you make it about you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And if you stay on your lane and stay with the information, or stay with your heritage, or stay with your background, and you stick there, and that's it. That's the truth. We all know a part of the truth. Let's put it together. Let's commune and reason together, and perhaps we can come up with something that would help somebody that's looking at us, trying to figure out who they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good deal. Good deal. Captain, talk to me. Badger, coming to you next.
I want to say this to my brother Badger. Badger, stop calling yourself a half-breed. You got to understand that there's a law that we have lived up under in America, that if you had 1/4 of black blood in your white body, you were considered black. The Mendelian law says you can get the recessive from the dominant, but you can't get the dominant from the recessive.
Mm-hmm.
The dominant gene is the original Native American. Native American are black people. I got Native American. I told you that. My great-grandmother was Native American. So if I was to keep being confused whether I'm Native American or I'm black, man, you black. You're the one confused. If you got Native American in you, it dominates that European blood in you. Trust me when I say that. And stop being confused about who you are and what you are. That's who you are. And if you accept that. Accept that. Because the more you keep trying to call yourself a half-breed, and you're not a half-breed. Man, that's that European talk. Get out of that, Badger. You got more original in you than any of them Caucasians I ever known. You my mans in there. I'm sorry, fellas. I had to say that to my brother, man.
Mm-hmm.
I know what he's going through. My man, just be through with that. You're an original man. And accept that. That Native American blood outweighs that European blood in you. Trust me when I say that. Now, I'm going to say this. Every one of us on this line, we men. We men. But remember now, brothers, I said this before. All males are not men.
Mm-hmm.
But all men are males. Because we got a Johnson and two necks. I don't mean we're a man up on here.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we're doing boy stuff. But if we're going to be men, this is about the black man on this line here. The reason why we can't advance is because that's the nature of a man to be dominant. He has a problem submitting to another man. Even if that other man gives him knowledge that he can share, but we got to play who's Johnson belongs. That's why there's so many women in the church, because they don't have those egos that we got. We all on here try, some are not everybody, because we have matured. Many of them on this line have matured to that. I'm trying to out-talk you. I'm trying to show you all that I know, and I know all this in the back. I'm past that. That's for people that's insecure about themselves. I don't have to convince you. You don't know my history. I don't know your history. But one thing I will respect, I respect the truth when you give it to me. I respect knowledge when you give it. But I ain't gonna respect no assumptions. I ain't gonna respect I heard. I'm not gonna respect that. If I tell you I went somewhere and you said, well, I didn't know it, then I tell you I've been there. Oh, okay, well, you've been, okay, Jeff. I wish I had the money, boys. God is my witness. I would pay for every one of y'all trips to the motherland. I wouldn't care if it changed you or not. How you not want to go back and put your foot on the place we come from? How you don't even think like that? That would hound me. Are some of you just comfortable? I ain't left nothing over there. That tells me something about the mentality of what these people did to us. You can't find no Jew who don't want to go to Israel. Not one. You can't find no Italian who don't want to go to Italy. But we comfortable. And then we hide in religion. No. The truth of the matter, we wasn't Christians when they brought us over here. If you want to know the truth of it, they didn't bring Christians over here. Christians don't enslave Christians. Christians don't lynch Christians. So that Christian mentality that you claiming now, know your origin, know your roots. Go into Asia, go into what they call Africa, and see, what did we have Christians about? Or did the white man come in with his missionaries? And then after coming in with his missionaries, he came in with his mercenaries. You know the history.
30
but if
seconds.
you're going to talk with some sense of knowing. I'm not knocking there one of you what you know. But come on, man. There's so much we don't know. There's so much we don't know. But if we sit down as brothers, and we can say we don't know. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Listen, y'all taught me something today. I'd be a daggone fool to tell you I know everything. That's so ignorant of me. But that brother asked Leonard, is ignorance all right? Yes, we all come into the world ignorant.
Yeah.
Which means not knowing. That's right.
Yeah.
We all come in the world ignorant. But don't stay ignorant when you get the knowledge.
Exactly.
So I thank you, Brother Raheem, for giving me this. And I'm sorry, brother. I hope I ain't disrespecting nobody. Please, please, please. God knows, man. Don't you leave off here saying I was a disrespectful dude. No. Please charge it to my head and not my heart. I got admiration for you. That's why I speak with the passion.
Yes.
I was part of the Million Man March. I was part of the Million Family March. I was part of the Million More Move. I was part of the 10-10-15. You ain't talking about somebody who ain't putting no work. I'm 68 years old. When you look at Minister Farrakhan at the Million Man, go look at the video and look behind him. That's Captain Dennis, the dark-skinned dude with the mustache. That's me. Put work in.
Exactly.
2 million men together. I was with the minister when he mentioned he wanted to bring the Million Man in New York. I'm standing right next beside him with them. I want to take the Million Man. I was with him. Then went to work to put those men on that daggone lawn. I've always been about black people and the black man. We got to get it together.
Exactly.
And this is the beginning. So forgive me if I said anything insulting to anyone. I didn't mean to insult you, please. I thought about it. I'm passionate like my brother said. But you know what I mean? And Captain Dennis ain't nothing but a frustrated Baptist preacher. That's all I am, a frustrated Baptist preacher. Thank you, brother.
Good deal. Good deal. Let me go to Badger. Badger, what's on your heart? Tucson can't control himself over there. Look at that.
I was laughing probably as hard as he was. And no, I didn't take no offense, Cap.
Go
One
ahead,
of the
brother.
reasons I call myself a half-blood is because most people, they see me on camera or something, or when I add my opinion, I'm just a white guy. My Native American heritage is always forgotten, no matter how much I talk about it or speak from that perspective. I'm always viewed by the color that my skin color. But that's part of one of the things I've hinted at before is in today's society, you're judged by your color, not by who you are. And it's interesting, for how do you word that? To have something that is close to an experience of what it feels like to be judged based on color. Yet not really allowed to talk about it because, I don't have no struggle. I have privilege, right? And that's why I decided my own roots. So whenever anyone hears me use those terms, it's things I've learned to mimic because that's what people call me. They either call me the white boy or the half-blood, half-breed. You know, the Indian wannabe because
And
I'm white-skinned.
I'm gonna say this to you, Badge, and I heard our captain say this many times on the broadcast. It ain't what they call you; it's what you answer to.
Oh, that's fair.
So it ain't what they call you. Go ahead, because I know I've been called.
I know you probably know who I'm talking about and all that. But here's the thing. One thing I've learned when it comes to learning about culture, about roots, about origin, about spiritual teachings is sometimes you got to meet people where they choose to be at. So I've learned not to be angry about it anymore, because a lot of times the people that are saying things like that are the ones that need the most help. Sometimes they're halfway there. So it's a struggle.
30 seconds.
To do the research, to meet with the knowledge keepers. You know, I've had the privilege to sit down with African dancers, learn some of the culture from there, and why the songs are important to them and what they represent and what they mean. My Native American ancestors, and learn their cult and their teachings. I took the time to sit down with elders and find out, how did we become lost in our current society from Great Spirit? Where did it happen that we lost who we are as human beings?
Good deal, Bats. Gotta keep it
Sorry.
moving. No, you good. You're about to become that preacher with the microphone. You're about to become that preacher with the microphone. I saw you, Badger. I saw it was
It
wired up.
doesn't exist. Don't even say it. It's not there. It's a figment of your imagination.
It was winding up. When you had already winded up, you was going to let the handle go. But listen, I'm gonna go around right now. Anybody got anything else they want to say? Because I'm gonna play. I gotta play real clip real quickly. Hold on one second. Rodney, you want to say something?
Yeah, real fast. I want to
hold on 1 second. Rodney, hold on for 1 second, brother. Hold on for 1 second. Let me play this right here. I gotta play this little commercial real quickly. Then I'm gonna come back and let you say it. Then we're gonna go around and everybody see what they want to say in their closing.
This is 3-Minute Marketing. It is a great advertising opportunity for you and your business. We will tell your story, from start to finish. We promise a professional result every time. Just watch the money roll in. Please don't pass you by. We will tell them all about you. I knew you could do it. Now, contact bkmmediagroup1@gmail.com today.
Great commercial.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I want to say that this conversation that we're having today, I'm a little disheartened by it, because we talk about roots, that's important, culture, that's important. But yet we have not addressed, we have a generation coming after us with no direction. We're grown men, like someone said on this panel. We're having a lively discussion. It's going in a bunch of different directions. All of us combined have the answers. No individual has the answers. We as men need to agree to disagree. If in fact there's a miscommunication, a misunderstanding, pick up the phone offline and say, bruh, the way this came out, did you mean it that way? But at the end of the day, at the end of this 2-hour conversation, we have not addressed the single parents, the incarceration of males. We have not addressed the lack of direction, the lust for money. We haven't addressed anything. We just, as someone said earlier, we just basically had a slinging contest about who's the smartest and who's whatever else. At the end of the day, nothing has been solved. We're going to get up this line tomorrow morning, and the world's going to be the same way. So I challenge everyone to come up with a solution in their own way to deal with the issues at hand. We have a generation coming up that's going to be even more lost. It doesn't get better. It gets worse every generation. So that's our challenge.
Exactly. And I'm going to revisit. I'm going to revisit this conversation again. It may not be next week on Real Men Being Men, but we definitely come. Actually, maybe on another platform. I may do it on another platform.
Hey, Raheem, can I throw something in real quick?
Oh, just cut me off, Badger. Just cut me off. I want to do a number talking, brother. Hold on. Can I finish my thought, brother? Can I finish?
Yeah, it just goes along with what you're talking about.
Okay, well, let me finish my thought. Then I'll come to you. Let you go ahead and add on to what you're gonna say. But my thing is, I want to come on another platform. It may not be on Real Men Being Men, but I definitely want to come in and pull all the brothers together along with some other people as well. We're gonna bring quite a few people together, and we may actually you know what, we could do it as a forum. We could actually do it as a forum, bringing people together, man, in person as well as on platforms much like this right here, so people that can't get here could actually be a part of it. And we want to talk about this thing, and I want to bring more people involved in this conversation so we can talk about those solutions that we're speaking of. Go ahead, Badger.
So, by the way, I think he reached out to you again to find out about this Saturday.
Okay.
Public citizen, someone that listens to the radio show in the morning. Me and him's been talking and working on bringing communications between white folks and folks of different, just folks of all races together, to work on undoing a lot of the illusions that are put out there, to find a common ground so we can actually communicate and then try to possibly broadcast it at some point if everyone's comfortable being broadcasted. I don't know if that's what you were hinting at or not.
Okay. No. We actually gonna do it on another platform. We're gonna bring people together in a forum type situation where we can actually just have an open and honest conversation and talk about subject much like we talked about tonight, and deal with and end result get to some solutions. We'll talk about the problem. We'll address the issues. We'll address everything that's there. But at the end of the day, I definitely want to get to a solution-based situation. Great broadcast, man. We 2 hours. 2 hours. I couldn't break away, man. I had got other topics right here that we should have gotten to, but we got 3 topics free for next week. So I just got to come up with one additional topic next week. So that's a good thing. Gonna go around right now, give everybody an opportunity to say what they want to say in their closing. But before we do that, I want to invite you all to join us Monday through Friday from 7 o'clock until 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Morning Glow. And we have a topic Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. We usually have a topic, but on Wednesdays we don't have a topic. Rico, what's it called on Wednesdays?
It's the Royal Rumble on Way Out Wednesday. I'm gonna say Wild and Out Wednesday again. One of them.
Yes, sir. You almost butchered it. You almost butchered it. Lord. But listen, so yeah, definitely have an opportunity to come join us on Way Out Wednesday every Wednesday on the Morning Glow. Like I said, Morning Glow is every day, Monday through Friday from 7 until 10. We'd love to have your input. Give us a call, join us, and spread the word. Continue to spread the word. Now, I'm gonna go around right now, give everybody an opportunity to say what they want to say in their closing. We're gonna start off with Mr. Hicks. In your closing, sir.
Oh, yes, sir. I really enjoyed the conversation. Always grow, get something good out of things. I appreciate how you moderate things. You really do a great job.
Thank you, sir.
And I'll be talking to you tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir. To God be the glory. Yes, sir. Captain, in your closing, sir.
Man, thank you so much, Raheem. I want to say, brothers, man, I appreciate you. And man, I'm not going to sit here, even though we may not stuck to the subject, even though we may not find talked about and stayed on point. We do that, a lot of that on the Morning Glow. Those who be on the Morning Glow know we're straight from subject, but whatever is important, that's what we deal with.
Yeah.
And we can't say we didn't learn that. I learned something, even though we didn't get to where we wanted to get to. I learned a lot, and I know that we're going to get back to it. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate each and every one. May God bless you and your family.
Absolutely. Likewise. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Leonard.
Sir.
In your closing, sir.
I like what Marcus Aurelius said. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be and just be one.
That's good. That's good. Rodney.
Yes, sir.
In your closing, sir.
Closing is this. I would like to thank everyone for showing out and showing up. The dialogue has definitely been fruitful in terms of different vantage points. We're all at different places in life. We're all going to learn from each other. and we just, we're brothers. So let's enjoy our platform.
Absolutely, absolutely. Badger.
Never judge a person. You never know what their experiences are, what their knowledge is, or what walk of life they actually are. Be cautious, but judge a person by their actions, not just their words.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rodney.
Yeah.
You ought to say it, Rodney.
You want me to say them again? I'll say some else again.
No, don't say nay other word, not nay other word.
We're going to turn it to the Rodney show.
You saw it, Lord.
I don't know why I thought about Michael Jackson's song. I'm looking at the man in the mirror.
Oh Lord.
But I'm always doing that, trying to see, not look at somebody else, but I got to check me.
Yeah.
And see how I can help, not being selfish, but grow in the matter. Utilize everything that's there to try to see where I can better myself. So I thank you, brothers, for helping me tonight. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good deal. Rico.
Man, sometimes I go down to my grandmama's house, man, and sit on the porch, and it just does something for me. It's hard to describe it, hard for me to put it into words. Or sometimes I go out to the graves of my grandparents, and it just does something for me. And I was thinking about that invite. Badger asked me if I wanted to come to that invite. And I was thinking, about something that Captain Dennis said. I always wondered how when people went to Africa, they came back, they said it did something for them. They don't know what it was. It was hard to describe, but it was just something that it did something for them spiritually. I can't describe it. They can't describe it, but they know it does something for it. But it has something to do with their roots. So I heard Captain Dennis say, man, I would love to take y'all back so y'all can see for yourself. It'll do something for you. That's why it's important for you to know your roots. It'll do something for you, something that you can't describe. Something deeper than the carnal desires of you requires. But it grounds you at the same time. It brings you back to reality of knowing where you came from. Even if you didn't know your great-great-grandfather, but you could find him and say, man, this is him. This is his name. That's his picture. Wow, he looked just like me. It does something for you, man. So I think that question was asked earlier. And I think, I don't know how that conversation even got off like that. I don't know what happened. Maybe I came in too late or whatever. But I think it's important that we know our roots, man. And I like what Rodney said earlier. I know I'm going long. But what Rodney said earlier, man, about us actually having some worthy conversations without trying to see, who chest the biggest. Because I get tired of that, man. I get tired of, people questioning what you feel and what you think. But it happens a lot. And we can't get anywhere. So when it comes to that invite, I think about the fact that sometimes the Italians, they want to go back to Italy. The Jewish people want to go back to Israel. The Arabs love going back home. But if I was to actually come to that table with the people that Badger was talking about, would we truly come united? We don't even know if we want to go back home or not.
Now,
See, I feel like before I come to a platform with everybody, I feel like we need to get something right here first.
Yeah.
Before we go sit down with other people, because these other people, they got something that we ain't got. They got this unity that we ain't got for some reason that Captain Dennis spoke about earlier. So, I hope we can start having some, consistent conversations,
Good deal. Now, the preacher just came out of you that time, brother. The preacher just came out, and y'all got to get somebody over there. I got to get Sandman and get that hook and pull you off the stage. That's what I started to do. I'm gonna call Sandman to get you off the stage. Pastor, in your closing.
I appreciate the value that everyone not just brought, but was seeking. Because I think ultimately when we're looking for that, we're looking for value. And what is our value? Where does it come from? How do I establish it? How do I keep keep others from messing it up. So I thought it was a powerful conversation. Yeah, it was passionate from some ends, but I really think that it was beneficial.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm gonna go to the that old I'm gonna go to that what he say was an old frustrated Baptist preacher. Old frustrated Baptist preacher, you there?
Who you talking about, me?
Yes, sir. I want you to put your preacher head on and pray us out, sir.
Oh, okay. Oh, man, that's a great honor. That would be a great honor, man. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. My brothers, please bow your head. Heavenly Father, we thank you. You was able to bring us together. And you said with 2 or 3 gathered there, you also are in our midst. We knew you was present. You knew, God, that we seek your face, that we may be able to turn from our evil ways, that we as men, for you said in the Bible, let us make man in my image and after our likeness. So we know our origin, God. We know our root is you. Make us the men that we was created to be, and unite our hearts. And let us not fall out over religion, over color, over race, over gender. Let us not fall out over the small things, and let us unite under the big thing, which is you, Lord. I ask this in the name of all of your righteous servants, from Abraham all the way to Muhammad. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, brother.
Amen.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And I thought Willow was praying for a while.
Yes, sir. Good deal. Good deal. We're about to get out of here, man. It's been a great broadcast. I want to thank everybody for joining us, man. Look at here. And make sure you join us in the morning. Make sure you join us in the AM, 7 o'clock AM Eastern Standard Time. If God say the same, we'll meet you right here. Pastor got something on his heart over there. I don't know, Pastor, something on your heart? No? Pastor, not me. No. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining, man. It's 10:12, man. We got to get out of here. Y'all owe me for 12 minutes. Y'all owe me for 12 minutes. I'm getting 12 minutes from each one of y'all. I want to thank everybody for joining us. More than that, I want to thank you for allowing DKM Media Group and Associates and Real Men Being Men for being a part of your evening. It is now 10:12. You're about to exit Real Men Being Men. But before you go, I want you to do me 2 favors, if you will. One, I want you to continue to pray for us because we're certainly praying for each and every one of you. Number 2, why this is real simple, I want you to go out there, find somebody and give them a hug because you never know. It could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. Love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. And if we shine some of this light on you from Real Men Being Men, take it out there into this wicked and cruel world that we live in and let your light so shine. If you get an opportunity, give somebody some love. You just might find some love in return. Won't that be a beautiful thing? Have a great day. Take care of each other, and please, please, please be blessed. Talk to your mom. God said the same. Take care of each other. Love ya.